everyone, welcome. I'm so excited to have Joy Abdullah tonight, and he is topping the top 50 most influential men on LinkedIn. And if you guys have had the chance to sit down and have coffee with him, you know exactly what I mean. It's lovely to sit down and pick Joy Abdullah's brain. It's quite insightful, the things he says, and your mind will just go like, poof. So I'm not going to talk anymore, and let's bring him on. Hi, Joy.
Hey, Cheryl, what a pleasure. It's a delight, privilege, honor to be on the Cheryl Witha show. 2 years in the making. Absolutely delighted. Absolutely delighted. Don't pick my brains. I heard that one. I heard that bit of introductions. I got to go into storage to retrieve my brains.
Oh, yes, I'm going to be asking you a lot of things from the past, so you will have to really dig deep to kind of
Oh,
figure that
my.
out.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Okay. Okay.
So, guys, I met Joy, what, 4 years ago, Joy? Oh my gosh, 4 years
That's right.
now in Hotel Istana, and we were just talking backstage, right? About I was super nervous. I was taking a bunch of my students from Nila. It was like raining super heavy that night, and here
Yep.
I am in front of all these hardcore, high end, head of departments, founders of their companies sitting down there and like worried. And my students, they were so excited. So, I became brave and came and spoke to all of you. And wow, 4 years has passed and so many things has changed. It's just, it's amazing how we grow, right?
Yep. It's called life. Life happens. That's
Life
the short
happens.
version of it.
Exactly. So let's get to know you a little bit better. We're going to peel
Shoot.
one by one, little by little. So, crayons, right? So imagine if you're a new addition to the crayon box. What color would you be? What do you think?
I'm going to
Can
deflect before
describe
I
it.
answer that. When you say peel a little by little, why do I feel like an onion all of a sudden? Though I love onions, but you know, I don't think I quite have the anatomy of an onion. But let's
Or
leave
we
that
can
aside.
use
Come back.
if you're from Malaysia, I mean if you're from I mean, you've been in Malaysia for a while, right? It's like the kuih lapis, lapis by
Yep,
lapis.
layer by
That
layer.
that's another way, the Malaysian way of looking at it.
So first thing first. Yeah, I've been probably a bit too long in Malaysia now. I'm running my 21st year. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's a
And
long
yes,
time.
I still have to renew my visa every 5 years. But that's the law of the land. So now let's come back. You said if I was a
Crayon.
crayon in a new edition in the crayon colors. Very interesting.
What color would you be?
I'd actually be a very particular shade of orange that I'm still. It's been, you have various shades of orange. And by the way,
Correct.
I'm gonna preface this answer by saying to the viewers and to you, I'm slightly colorblind. So when it's
Okay.
night, I have a bit of a problem in my eye in making out between red and green in the traffic lights. They tend to appear as sort of blue black. So yeah, colors. Uh, I'm trying to figure out the exact percentage to come to a particular shade of orange, which is, but it's not the Mandarin orange. Neither is it the standard orange, but it's a particular orange which is the word that comes to mind is very vivacious from a bright perspective, so that when you see that splash of orange, all right, the first thing that happens is all your happy hormones kick in. Colors
Mm,
affect us from a neuro perspective, and that effect is actually it releases certain chemicals. And one of the happy hormones, I don't know those fancy chemical names. I mean, I could, but not right now. So I'd be that particular shade. It's a little brighter than the stole that if it's a stole or a shawl that you've got on you. So it's not muted. It's extremely bright. It's
yeah, yeah.
really, really bright. So that's the color I would be, and I would absolutely stick out like a sore thumb. And there's a reason for that. I'm all about highlighting being different.
Husni
Yeah,
says
Husni
sounds
says sounds
complicated.
complicated. True. As I said, I've been working on it for over a year. Getting to that color is well, I've got royal blue and that orange as my brand colors for any of you all who who want to go and check it out on LinkedIn or social media. So that particular hue of orange, I haven't yet, my heart hasn't found it. So the people, the designers I work with are mixing and matching, but let's see. Oh, no, Husni, pardon me. No sun-kissed orange. Thank you. This is Joy Orange. When
Joy
I
Orange.
find it, I'm going to patent it.
He's gonna patent it. You're here, guys. And it really kind of embodies the joy that we know, I think. It really does, right? And how you've been growing and changing. And yeah, I think as you said, right, you're gonna come into your own, and the orange is just gonna fit perfectly at one point. I totally support you with orange because that's my favorite color. So I
Oh,
may be a
wow.
little
Awesome.
biased, just a little biased maybe
That's
about
okay.
orange, but that's good,
That's
I
good.
think. So, if there was one word, right, your closest friend would use to describe you, what would that be?
Oh, my God. One word. Who? How will they describe me? Um,
Yeah.
that's a tough one, you know. I mean, trying to think up one adjective is really hard for self, but I'll go with my name. They'll describe me as the joy, as somebody who, you know, it's not an electrification. I was going to use that, but I would want to say that it's somebody who just shocks you into feeling very good. So I've got two
Mhm.
words which is on my banners everywhere. It's about feel good. So the description of joy interacting would be you walk away feeling good, or a three-letter word, not feeling good. That's all. GD, welcome, my brother. Nice to see you on the chat. And yeah, bold is bold.
Ball is bold. Yeah, anyway, I mean, personally, I think men who are bald are sexy. Not
Join the
everyone
club
can
with
pull
my
it off,
wife.
but
It was
somehow
thanks to her.
it
This
works.
hairstyle was all thanks to her. She said, go and do it at a point where my hair had thinned out so much that I didn't even have to bother to comb it. You know, I just have to brush it down after a shower and I'm done. And she said, just go take it off. You're going to look way better. I can't use that word since we are on a particular word, since we are on public. But I said, yeah, I trust her. She's my best friend, soulmate, and everything. So off I went. And it always helps to listen to your wife, you know. When you listen to your wife, your life is at peace. End of story. For those of us men who are married on the live right now, just listen to your wife and do it. Done.
Safe way, right? I was going to ask this later, but since you brought up your wife, right? So Joy, a lot of people, right? The post that we've been putting up,
Yeah.
Lindsay from Nigeria, right? He said, "Oh,
Yeah.
my best Malay friends in Malaysia," right? So a lot of
Yeah.
people who are abroad have this idea that anyone who is from Malaysia are Malay. Of course, we're not. We've got so
Yep.
many different races, but even then, Joy doesn't fit in that category at all. Joy, tell us about that, right? Like, actually, until recently, I had no idea you're not Malaysian. I just assumed
Okay. So a couple of
you're
things here.
Malaysian.
No, it's natural. You know, because I don't have a different skin color or I don't have a different facial structure. So the first point here is that globally, wherever, and I say this having lived 6 countries and different cultures, uh, one of the biases that creates stereotypes is us and them. Okay, so the us and them, breaking it down without getting into white and black and brown and all of that, is the moment somebody doesn't fit a particular stereotype, you're them. You are an outsider. You're
Correct.
Malaysia wise, you're masale. All right. Now there
Yes.
are there are millions of Asians in Malaysia, I will use that, who don't actually fall into the descriptor of masale, but they're foreigners, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, and I've gone through life, and we'll get to that, I guess, in a way where if you throw me somewhere, I adapt. So what has happened over 21 years is that I've adapted. I've accepted a lot of the culture. There's a lot of good. I
Oh,
came to
yes.
Malaysia with a purpose. And at that point in time, when I came to Malaysia, I'll be very honest, I had no idea about purpose. I was a ambitious career growth, absolutely cold-hearted corporate ladder climber. Let's put it that way, right? And
Cannot imagine.
that's an avatar that even I, when I look back and I say, oh my God, I'm digressing, but I look back and I say, who was
Cannot
I? How
recommend.
could I have been a human being, you know? So anyways, let's park that. So I'm British of Indian origin, just to put it on record. I've been living in Malaysia for 21 years, and gratitude, appreciation, thanks, and love, in that order, to my other half, who's my soulmate, my friend, my spouse, mother of my boys, and somebody without whom I would not have my core. Let's put it that way. So my core has got two halves. Both halves don't have me in it. One half is my wife, the other half is my faith, and I'm not going to go there, but that makes up my core. It makes up who Joy is, which is why I'm able to do that feel good to people. And I adapted. I learned a smattering of the language. I'm not very good with languages because I have spent time outside. I know 6 languages, and the language skill in my up there has sort of deteriorated. I've become better at other skills, but I settled down here. I came here with an intention. I stuck to that intention. It's definitely been a long haul. I won't say it's been a walk in the park, anything. It's practically like climbing Mount Kinabalu, and I've got a bad foot. So it's been a great journey thus far. And when you adapt, it becomes very difficult. So now you go back outside, and I do a lot of a lot of. I do all my work sitting in Malaysia, sitting in Kuala Lumpur. All my work, literally as of 2022, is non-Malaysia centric. It's outside. It's in India. It's in Middle East. It's in UK. Even my advisory work is outside. So I work vague hours. I do not work the Malaysian 9 to 5. I actually
Correct.
work roughly between midday to about 10 p.m. Malaysian time, straddling 3 time zones, which is fine. And even out there, when I meet with my prospects, I talk to my first time client chats, everybody, because I don't wear a sign here which says brown Brit, right? And my accent is Indian. So
Yeah.
everybody takes me to be Indian. And then the question is, so you're Malaysian? And I said, no, I'm Indian, but I'm British. And then there's this pause, because I can literally hear the cogwheels in the brain going, he's Indian, but he's British. He's in Malaysia. And it's a bit too much. So I let that lie, and unless it really comes up. Over the years, I've got used to it, but and I'll be very honest, I use it to my advantage. I use it to my advantage to the point that it's a differentiator for me. That
Definitely.
amongst 34 million people, I stand out. I'm not a masale, but I'm a foreigner, and
Yeah.
I'm very, very deeply entrenched in my roots, my culture. But at the same time, the culture that we have at home, and I say we as in my wife and I and our boys, it's a hybrid. It's got very, very deep Malaysian culture and practice, coupled with a lot of my Indian side in it. So we've got, like, I'll give you an example quickly. When my eldest was born, which was 11 years ago, at the time when he was supposed to talk, he didn't start talking. And of course, like any parents, we rushed here, rushed there, went to our pediatrician and everybody, and we were like really worried what happened, because all checks and everything was fine. The pediatrician turns around to me and says, Joy, what language do you speak at home? So I said, English. And she asked my wife that, what language do you speak at home? And she said, English, Bahasa. And he asked me, how are you talking to your son? I said, oh, well, I talk to him in 3-4 languages, depending on which time, from the time that my wife was carrying. He said, stop. The reason he's not talking is
Yeah.
his neural synapses haven't yet connected. So can you guys just for 30 days fix onto one language and stay there? And
Language.
by Jove, we just stuck to English. And now I can't get him or his brother to even just be quiet for 10 seconds. So that's the thing of languages, and that's how we are, who we are. We are a hybrid. We're mixed. Who I am. So British Indian. That's it. I'll leave it there.
Interesting, and you decided to stay in Malaysia. That's even more interesting, right? So let's talk about you said you lived in many different countries, right? Before we go there, were you always a marketer? Have you always been
Yeah,
in marketing?
yeah. Let me give you this little insight. So I finished my B school in 1986. All right. So don't even go there, Cheryl, and say anything because I'm now giving you away my
At least
age.
I was born. I was
Yeah, you were
already.
born. My wife was born. All of you generations were there. Fine. So yeah, I'm baby boomer. That's fine. Now, I was finishing. I remember 1986, and marketing was a minor in my MBA. Okay,
Mhm.
I actually did finance, and I had a career path going into banking, M&A, forex. That's the line. And why? And this is where a little bit of lineage culture comes in. My father was a chartered accountant and in tax practitioner, UK qualified, wanted to set up his own CA firm and wanted his son to follow in his footsteps. So my era, son follows dad. Dad does everything, son just executes. You don't think.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
have this.
exactly.
Okay,
That was
sorry.
how it
End of
was.
story. So I had rebelled. I didn't want to do chartered accountancy. I found it very boring to be in a pinstripe suit, but I had to keep peace at home. So I opted for when to do MBA and then to keep more peace. Otherwise, dad would have ostracized, removed, the surname. I would have only had Joy and no name, no nation, no nothing. All of that stuff that you see on Bollywood and, Tamil movies. Life was literally like that. I did my MBA in finance. So, anyways, as we were finishing, my marketing professor, God bless his soul, he's no longer alive, but he just dragged me and he said, "Hey, go for this campus interview." And I was like, "Prof, what am I going to do there? I mean, I'm going to Standard Chartered Bank. I want to work in banking and go into forex. What is marketing and everything to do?" I just had, I don't even know advertising. It's one paper. It was an ad agency, global ad agency, one of the biggest. So I went for the interview. I gave the interview. At the end of the day of the campus interview, somebody comes up through from that company and hands me a chit and says, "Could you please land up at the office at 9:30 tomorrow morning?" And I'm like, 9:30? Sorry, those were the days when 9:30 was like, 5 o'clock in the morning for me. So I'm like, okay. So one thing led to another thing, and before I knew it, I was hired. It was J. Walter Thompson, an ad agency. You would know about it. And life started. The next time I blinked, I mean, yeah, life started. I'd gone back to UK. I started working there. As I started working, going into my fifth, sixth month, again, this whole bit about knowing 4 or 5 languages, being Indian, comfortable in the subcontinent region. I got shunted out, sent back to Delhi, Smith, Klein and Beecham, which was not that, Horlicks, the
Mhm.
brand, which was expanding, doing some stuff out there. They needed people to do setups and stuff. Basically, I've always been a good doer. So got recognized for that throughout my corporate career. So that's how life started back in 1986. I joined advertising, and the next time I blinked, it was 2008. I'd gone through advertising.
You got a
Uh,
very powerful blinker.
yeah, very powerful blink. It's one blink. It's like Thanos's this one.
You need to teach me that. I want to skip a few years sometimes.
No, don't, because I'll tell you in hindsight, it's not good to skip because that's what I learned. I woke up, I was burnt out, I was tired of
Yeah,
advertising. I had achieved whatever I thought I could achieve. Remember, I told you corporate rat race, very ambitious,
yeah,
cold
yeah.
hearted, and life had happened. Life had
Mhm.
happened in the sense a marriage had gone south. There was two elder kids to be responsible for. One fine day, I just woke up and I said, or not woke up, but I just asked myself, what am I doing?
Mm.
Who am I? What am I doing? And that kind of thing. Why have I got diverted? Which rabbit hole did I go down? And thus started the second phase or the chapter 2. I'm now on chapter 3, by the way. Um, chapter 3 just went, chapter 2 came, and again, same mistake. You know, you have to make double mistakes before you learn. Another
Correct.
span of 10 years between 2008 and 2018 went. You met me, and that's when Thor's hammer came and landed here. Literally, it
Toss
just
hammer.
came. Thor's hammer. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a Marvel fan,
Marvel
so
fan.
you'll have a lot of the analogies coming from there. Woke up and realized that I've spent 3 decades in corporate, and honestly, everything that I list in my resume as achievements really doesn't make me feel like, wow, I've achieved. Because the question that haunted me is, yeah, I make tons of profit for those companies, tons of profit. But what's the impact I've actually had on a single individual? And that brought me around a full circle to say, what's in my control? What's in my control is my world. What's my world? My wife, my kids. That's my world, right? 2018 is where my chapter 3 started.
So
2018
you
is
were
when
doing
I,
you're doing something which in everybody's eyes is basically achievement, success,
oh, I,
positions. I mean, you had
I
the
had
highest
everything,
positions, right? And
everything.
but it didn't embody who joy is, right? It didn't have that
Nope.
joy.
I was my designation. I was my designation. I was a strategic planning director, group brand director, vice president, ad agency, etc., 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 etc. I was not Joy Abdullah. I
And
was not
that's a
Joy.
fantastic point, Joy, because a lot of people, especially young people that we speak to, that's what they aspire to be, and they think that's the position is what is going to bring them that joy and that success and that feeling of, I've made it, or sense of belonging.
There are three things those positions bring you. Number one, acute stress. Number two, from acute stress, hypertension, you'll definitely land up with it. Either low blood pressure or high blood pressure. I'm on the other side with low blood pressure and I really take care of myself. The third
Mm-hmm.
thing it'll bring you, which is the worst, you will wake up feeling so unfulfilled, so unsatisfied that your insides would be gnawing. It's like knowing, kneading dough. It's like
Yeah.
something is clawing your inside, clawing to say, go out. And that's, I'm sorry if I use the word advice, but listen to that little bit of gnawing inside in your soul, because that's your intuition, your gut, your real you telling you, let me out, let me out, let me out. And your real
Your inner
you,
voice.
yeah, your inner voice, your real you is always, always doing for your good. It's not going
Mm-hmm.
to harm you. It's a long road. It's a very hard road. You're going to be traveling all along. This is not a Bangkok, Indonesia archipelago backpackers trip.
Yeah.
This is literally survival training up in the Borneo jungles, where all you have is your bare hands, your wits. You don't even have a Bowie knife, and you got to live, literally.
Interesting. We have a question from Rad, right? Before we go into the question, I just want to welcome everyone who just joined us. We are with Joy Abdullah for My Kind of People, episode 5. And he's just slowly peeling for us his journey. And we are in phase 3. And we've just realized that Joy has the power of the blink that I try to, get a bit of insights into how he gets that blink. Someone even said earlier, what a blink.
We'll
So
we'll we'll practice it.
Raj says, how was the beginning of the change, sir? How was the beginning of that change?
I'm pausing here a moment because I'm recollecting as I go back, and I told this to
Mhm.
Cheryl backstage. Sometimes when I have to go into deep storage, the retrieval, yeah, exactly, the retrieval takes a couple of seconds. Um, there was a feeling, as I mentioned while talking earlier, that you've achieved all of this on paper.
Mhm.
Everybody lauds you, and everybody says you've done so good and you've achieved great. But the people who really mattered to me, my wife, my children, you know, uh, just to digress slightly, so I put it into perspective. I used to go to my son's school when he was in, kindergarten, year 1, year 2, in the younger classes, just to be a parent sharing stories. They had the system where parents could come in and, talk about their profession and everything. So when I
Correct.
went in, and my son was then somewhere around 5 or 6, if I remember, imagine explaining what you do to a 5 or 6 year old. And I still remember, I sat down there and one of his friends asked me that, what do you do? And I said, I'm a storyteller. But actually, I'm not a storyteller by profession, because in marketing, I work on strategy. I don't actually work on the content
Yes.
creation bit. Then. So
Yeah.
at that
Back
point,
then.
when I was narrating this is back in 2015, 2016, and I told them I'm a storyteller, there was a flip, because suddenly all these kids gathered around to say, oh, you're going to tell us a story. And at that point, one penny dropped, one huge neural synapses connection happened. I realized what I was doing in marketing and what storytelling does in marketing is happening live right in front of me. When you can communicate, you have a story.
Yeah.
And now to come back, when I came into 2018, and I realized that I want to do something that really impacts businesses. Yeah, it's crazy. So I've got a mission. I've got a mission, very simple, which is, I don't have a number. I don't have 1 million businesses, 100,000 businesses, but I just want to help businesses understand one thing. When you do your marketing in a very imaginative way, I call it reimagine your marketing, and you involve your team, and your team actually talks about the brand and what they're doing on the brand, you don't need paid advertising. You'll actually create a community. You'll attract. It's called attraction marketing, and that's my sales plug right now. You'll attract the customers, the right
Yeah.
customers that you want, who will then give you the 3 times referral, etc., etc. So how did I understand the beginning? That was the point. The point was to create that impact. I realized, okay, I want to create this impact. That's great. But what is it that will help me create this impact? And I understood that it's taken me 32 years to learn this. The competitive advantage in business, they didn't teach me this in business school. I went through decades of my corporate career in various places and industries, and I didn't pick it up till I was looking back on it. It always happens. Hindsight is 2020. When you're on the ground, you just have myopic vision. I realized that people make the difference where business is concerned. See, I'm not a coach. I'm not an executive coach. I'm not a life coach. I'm not a leadership coach. I can lead teams. I can create people, but I can only do so if the people are involved. And I understood that if businesses actually get their people involved,
Yeah.
and when you have involvement, you want to do that piece of work. So that was the beginning where I started my chapter 3 in 2018. And I went out, I started putting that message out. I created my own content. I still create my own content. And my whole idea of my content is actually to create a personality and create visibility, to bring conversations to happen one-on-one. Started doing work. And today it's come to a point where you will see on mainstream attraction marketing, as the jargon says, is quite big. Emotional connectivity is really
Correct.
key in leadership. Okay.
Very
So
true.
these things are all points in my little triangle of delivering impact. And I work with not more than 5 clients at a time. I can't manage physically, so I stick to 5 clients. I'm not on the mission to be a Richard Branson or anything from a financial standpoint. I'm very
Yeah.
happy as long as the bread is on the table, there's a little bit of security, and I enjoy. And that's why I started this whole talk on Cheryl's show with, when somebody interacts with Joy, you'll go away feeling good, feel good, or not. There's nothing in between. There's no
Nothing
gray.
in between.
And that's the impact, because when you make somebody feel good
Hot
and you
or
get
cold,
that
right?
person, there's exactly, you don't have an intermediate temperature, because for long we have lived so much and our society is so much in the
Correct.
gray, right? That we, all these biases and suppositions and judgments come in. Now, when you understand that and you realize it, you come to a point where you have to choose. And this is where you really start. And Rad, this is for you. If you know where your road is going, the choice is, do you want to travel that road or not, is yours. Because
Yeah.
what's going to pull you back is your sofa and your Saturday night footballs are going to look very comfortable.
Enticing.
Let me tell you, the nasi lemak, the football, the Friday nights with the boys, online or offline or whatever, all of
Yeah.
that is not going to take you down that road that's calling you. As I said earlier, it's a lonely journey. You've got to find motivation, and your motivation will go back to that. Why are you doing it?
Why are
Right?
you doing the purpose?
Motivation is not external. Two, you've got to keep at it and you've got to build your brand. If you don't build your own personal brand, you're not going to stand out. It's all about being seen and heard. First, you've got to create visibility. Let people see you. Once people see you regularly, then a few of those people are going to say, what's he saying? They're going to listen to you. And even a smaller segment from there is going to say, there seems to be some merit in this. Let's have a chat. So if I were to put this in numbers, you'll go from 10 to 5 or 4 to 1 or 0. And when you're at 0, and trust me, I've been there months without hitting prospects, getting clients, but keeping plugging away. You push yourself forward. That's why I said it's like climbing Mount Kinabalu. And that's how you go. That's how you find your beginning. And you adapt and you improvise as you go. I don't have a formula, guys. I'm sorry. If it's my journey, I'm sharing my story. The only thing I have is, I believe getting a platform to share your story gives, others the drive to talk. And the best example is Cheryl here. I mean, 2018, we met, we had a chat, we met a few times more, we had coffee,
Yeah.
we participated in some get-togethers at Inti, at outside things. But today, Cheryl herself has taken her road, chosen her road, gone down, built the Cheryl Witha show, and that's proof. If I can count that as an impact, I'm happy to put that down on my impact list, and off I go. That's it. That's all.
Definitely, definitely. I don't think I would have ever gone by this road ever. I could not even picture it, right? Let alone when someone says the word entrepreneur to me, right? It's like, I'm like, huh? Like, what? Like, please move away. Like, this is not, because you grow up, I mean, typical Indian family, right? Entrepreneurs are not safe. There's no security. There's no stability. My father is like, okay, girl, study hard. Do your degree or master. I think it's an Indian thing. I don't know. Do your degree, do your master, study hard, work hard. The harder you work, the higher you go. But in my experience, it doesn't work that way. And that's the world today, right? It's not about working hard. It's not about working hard anymore. It's about, like you said, the purpose thing is very important. And if you've seen my post recently, we talked about that as well. A lot of people are going to tell you all kinds of things like, why are you doing it? I'm sure for you as well, Joy, when you decided to leave corporate, that must have been what you were hearing, right? People must have said, why, Joy? You have everything. Why are you even, like, what's
No,
wrong
I'll
with
share.
you?
This is interesting bit. You and the listeners might appreciate this. I didn't leave corporate. Corporate left me.
Mm,
Let me put this in perspective. So it was January 2018. I was coming off a 7-year contract with Bank Nagara, central bank subsidiary, higher education, this thing. And my contract had finished. I'm a foreigner. You don't get more than 2 contracts if you're not the CEO or whatever. Even the CEO who had
correct.
done 2 contracts, the entire senior team transited. They exited in a span of 6 months. Okay. So here I was, 32 years of corporate experience, massive achievement track record in my 5-page CV then, mind you, 5-page, you know. I'm sitting
Crazy.
on a high horse thinking, no issues. I'm just going to hit something and I'm going to get a job in the next 30 days. 10 months went by. 10 months went by. And I had 3 learnings. Learning number one, I had no network. Everybody I thought in the network were busy covering their rear ends and everything else. couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
2, I'm trying to be conscious of my words on being in a public forum. 2, age and cost, salary cost matters. Everybody
Yes.
wants to hire a 20-year-old with 30 years of experience. Nobody wants to hire
Yeah, yeah,
32
that's
years of
funny, right?
experience. Yep. Number 3, I learned, and this with the help of my wife, I've corrected. I ended up intimidating people, very senior people in the interviews that I went for. I didn't realize I was intimidating them, but my wife helped me to show how in my body language, my articulation, what I thought was passion was actually coming out as vociferous kind of aggression, right? And so I arrived at a point, corporate left me 10 months down the line. I had to put bread on the table. And I said, okay, so I got to do something. The choice, again, back to choice. Choice was self-sympathy. No way, everybody hates me. I can't get a job. Somebody help me, please. I've done that. I reached out to other people, network and everything, but I realized nobody's going to pick up a senior executive with my age if I keep whining, right? So I might as well go do something, take the other road down. And the moment I took the other road down, one thing after another thing after another thing happened. And before I realized it, Monday to Saturday just started going flying, right? And here I am, 4 years later. So what happened? I had 2 ventures, put them up, did the business, folded it up, lost, have to pay back, got some debt, standard story.
Yeah.
Reinvented, went back to my core, literally as late as last year. I mean, even when Cheryl, you and I were talking about an online, remember the online program and training, I not reinvented, but I pivoted to go back to what's my core, which is marketing strategy for B2B service organizations. And the last 1 year, it's been growing. It's getting there. Now I'm at a point where, yes, I think God willing, by the time we finish Ramadan, I'll probably be able to start scaling and getting everything that I've dreamt of 4 years ago into place. So it takes toughness. It'll toughen you up. It'll toughen you up, or it'll throw you in the ditch. When it throws you in the ditch, you've got to get up. You be prepared for knockdowns. People will tell you everything. I'm not a very good. I don't listen from outside, except for people that matter to me. So, 2 points going back to what you said. What all our elders would say about education and hard work used to work very well 80 years ago. The world, especially in the last 2 years, the world has gone 180. It's gone 180. My apologies. That's my younger one acting up a little bit. So you're going to hear a bit
It's
of.
okay. I have those at home as well.
I know. Being real. The second, the thing is, listen to them, be respectful, because they have spent 60, 70, 80 years living life. But you have to understand something. When they give you that advice, they are giving it to you from their life experience.
Yeah.
And their life experience is very different to the experience you're having, the issues you're having. You've got to recognize that they are coming from east to west, or east to north, or east to south. You are on the other end of the spectrum, looking at it from west to north, west to east, west to south. So they're seeing a 6, you're seeing a 9, right? Listen, take the good points, be respectful, but make your own informed decision based on the data that you have with you. Whatever information you have, use that. And then, if it helps, talk to yourself in the mirror and let your gut, your heart speak. There's a separate, people can look this up, what is gut and what is intuition, but we have a second brain which does not talk in words. And anyways, even our first brain doesn't talk in words, it talks in pictures. It's part of communication. But put that data that you have and what your intuition and gut is telling you and go for it. The worst that's going to happen is what everybody terms as failure is actually a learning.
Yeah.
I failed, as I said, I failed twice over. I have no qualms in sharing. I've got $140,000 debt still after 4 years that I'm paring down. And mind you, this is just business debt. This is outside of home loans and car loans and the
Yeah.
usual that we all have. So yeah, you have that. That's the fallout. But I've learned so much that it has made me be able to make others feel good. And that's my purpose. Remember, that's my purpose.
So
So when
always
it connects to my
aligning back to
purpose,
your purpose, always aligning back to your purpose. So as you move forward and climb this Mount Kinabalu, right? Every time you reach a certain stage or certain part and you realize that it's not aligned, then you revise and you go back to your core, go back to your purpose. And I think
in
that
fact, when
that's
you're trying
really
to
important.
climb, yeah, when you're trying to climb, you might find that the usual path of climbing is no longer there. You've got to
Yeah.
create a path to get to that next camp, the next level, or whatever it is. For those of you, anybody who's interested in mountaineering, if you look up at mountaineering, there's a gentleman, I forget his name, but he conquered the 14 top peaks in the world in a
Mhm.
time that mountaineering world had said was impossible. I don't know if it was 60 days or something of that sort or less. And see, I'm a very how to use the word. I'm trying to classify myself here, which is not good. But I take information from very diverse sources because
Yeah.
they help me to understand one thing: people. Consumer behavior is psychology. Psychology is about behavior. Behavior is driven by habit. Habits are formed out of beliefs that we create through experience and through hearing and seeing. So if
Correct.
I can share with somebody how a mindset of a person who was told you can't achieve this, it takes 6 years or 8 years, and does it
Mm.
in, I don't know, 60 days, something of that sort. It's amazing because it's not the technology or the technique of climbing mountains. For me, what was interesting is how does this person think? How does this person approach obstacles? When he wasn't getting visas in China to go all the way from Nepal to climb, what did he do? How did he mobilize his team?
Yeah.
Those are insights that I can use in my business work, in my marketing work. I can take those for team workflows and team management, just to really digress out. But purpose, when you find it, trust me, when you find it, you won't be able to get rid of it. It will become the Spider-Man suit, which you don't have to take off. It
Yeah.
disappears when you don't want it. Otherwise, the moment your brain ticks into, am I doing this aligned or non-aligned? Boom, you have the Spider-Man suit back on. It's ready. You've got your web slingers. Go fight the world. Save the world. It's a big responsibility.
Completely agree. A purpose just centers you. It makes you feel whole. It doesn't mean things are perfect. I completely agree. Doesn't mean that you will not go through challenges in life. It's not like when you find the purpose is the secret potion, and then that means that everything is just going to go perfectly. A lot of people think purpose means, oh, I found my purpose, so it just means everything is gonna
It's just the reverse. It's just the
yeah.
reverse. Here's the warning: when you find your purpose, expect everything that you call life is tough, life is hard, expect that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's a nice quote in English. I don't know who said it. When things get tough, the tough go shopping. I've tweaked it a little bit. When you find purpose, things will get tough. And when things get tough, get going. That's
Mhm.
action time. No more think time. Do.
Do.
Do, fail, do, fail, rinse, repeat. I can assure
Yeah.
you, you will succeed. You will, because
Yeah.
every failure gives you a brick of learning. And every brick of learning that you build, you're building, the Tower of Babel? I'm sure you're
Yeah.
aware of that. You build
Yeah.
it brick by brick. And every time you lay a brick, you're getting on top of it. So very soon you'll suddenly find you're right at that top, at the minaret, where you can
Correct.
yell out or you can call out, and the people in that area can hear you. So approach it that way. That's my philosophy. That's how I'm approaching it. In the process, yeah, the physical life might end, but hey, you know what? You've had a damn good innings, as we call it in cricket. You've enjoyed what you're doing. You're happy. Take away all what we consider worries, because if you look at it, what worries us are shiny objects and deaths and stuff like this. These are at the micro level. So imagine you're in the ISS space station and you're trying to locate your house. You're not going to be able to do it if you don't have a Hubble telescope or something, right? So that's how each one of us individually are in the microcosm of humanity. 7.6 billion people and whatever rubbish is happening all over the world. Each one of us has this stress, worry, fear, toughness, and everything. So start with just acknowledging tomorrow or tonight you meet somebody that you don't talk to every day. You just meet somebody, just have this in your head. When you're saying, hello, how are you? And or whichever way you greet a person, remember that that person has a story, that person has a worry, that person has a fear, that person has hopes, that person has aspirations, which is not here. We always read this. So don't read this, number one. Number two, greet with an effuse where, as they say in theater, the show must go on even when you've, had a tragedy. So approach it with the intent of being able to, I'll use the word help, but actually with the intent of keeping a smile on that other person's face. Because you know what happens when you smile? Not just the 42 muscles get used up and the dopamine kicks in, but you actually create that happy feeling. So for somebody who's going through a lot of stress or angst, if you just give that little 1 minute window where this person suddenly feels, you've just probably helped save his life because you've broken the chemical meltdown of depression, negativity, and everything into one little spark of dopamine and adrenaline and everything. And that's how we go. We build from there, one by one by one. Thank you, Ahmed Bhai. Pleasure to have you join us. Lovely to see you all the way from Karachi.
We have quite a few comments. GD says Nirmal Puja, which I don't know what he meant by that. But he said Nirmal Puja. Do you know what he meant by that?
No, either it's somebody's name or it's actually a ritual, but I'm not sure. GD would be the right person to
And
fill us
I
in.
think this is Casey. Casey was talking about your journey, and he said that's real courage. I completely agree. It's not an easy road to actually take, but I really think it's really worth it to take that. And Joy, do you think that this is a road that you need to take when you're much older? You need to go in, go to corporate and then eventually come there. Do you think that we can find it at earlier stages in our life?
I'm
What's your
hoping
thoughts?
my son, who's 11 years old, will find it by the time he's 18. So to answer your question in short, no. But while I say no, and I can say no and go blue in my face, without experiences in life, you're not going to find it. And those experiences will only come when you experiment. Now, don't get me wrong. When I say experiment, I don't mean do drugs and go dancing or go get pissed up. No, none of those. I mean life. You need to meet 20 different people who are not your campus or community or country or whatever. So you've got to expand your horizons to interact. You've got to learn communication. You've got to learn social interaction. You've got to approach from what am I? So let's say you're just getting into university and you're interested in design, right? So you're doing something in design. Go join the design community. Or you're a coder, you're doing engineering and you're studying computer science or whatever it is, right? You want to get into gaming. So go expose yourself to environments or understand how hackathons work. What benefit can you get? How do they talk? Find out. Give yourself those experiences, because the more you give yourself experiences, you are actually sowing what is happening in your thinking process. The more your critical thinking gets inputs, the more it is able to tell you, wow, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do this. So I know some, I'll use the word youngsters, early 30s, very early 30s, they found it. They actually found it by working, like they went to work in corporate for a couple of years and realized that they were rats in a rat race, came out, started some stuff, failed miserably, went broke, restarted something, boom, went out. And I mean, today on LinkedIn, I just posted There's this startup which just started to create a solution on
Yeah.
a CRM program which is global called
Okay.
Salesforce, and that startup is, it's been sold over, bought over. It's 2 years old. I mean, just go and take a look at their podcast that I promoted, and the company that promotes the podcast is another story. They've just done their Series C. It's amazing. So experiences by experimenting gives you the input you need. If you come from a very standard, Cheryl, sorry, but if you come from that, work hard, study hard, do your masters,
Yeah.
that longkang or line of that road, remember that road only leads one place. 35 years corporate service. Nowadays, they don't even give you a Rolex. They'll give you a certificate of appreciation. Hopefully your EPF is there and maybe it'll help you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I can definitely assure you, you will wake up at 58, 59, 56, whatever the age point. You will wake up and say, what did I do in the last 40 years? What have I left behind? Some are happy with it. Good for them. It's their choice. Again, goes back to choice. But experiment, widen your circle, talk to people like Cheryl, try. So even something as simple, it was what, 2 years ago, Cheryl, or was it 3 years ago? Cheryl didn't want to post on LinkedIn. And I said, just post, write your story, write your point of view. Today, she can't get off LinkedIn. She can't get off Instagram. So the point is, and
Yeah.
she's here with her show. That's my biggest example and result live, to say that I'm talking to somebody who I knew back then 4 years ago, and I still know where Cheryl's going to head and reach. And it's coming through step by step. So you don't have to be 10 years or 20 years in corporate, or you don't have to be 40 or 50 to find it. You can find it now if you choose to. You need the right. You can't cook nasi goreng if you don't have the right ingredients. You have the rice, but you don't have,
Correct.
the ikan bilis and everything that
Yeah.
you need. You can't do it. So it's simple as that.
Completely agree, Joy. I keep telling my students in class, right? I say you don't have to wait. I think some of us waited very long, right? I mean, I only got this revelation or realization a couple of years ago, so I always took longer. But what if you could start thinking about it now, right? What if you could start those experiences, like you said, experiment, right? Doesn't mean if you did a mass comm degree, you go out and you have to follow that exact route. There's so many things you could do, and there's so many
Exactly.
opportunities today. People are willing
Look,
to
I
take
did
you
a
on.
finance degree. I did
Yeah.
finance MBA. I spent my life in advertising and marketing, right? Your education,
Correct.
honestly, the way, sorry, and with all due respect, Cheryl, but our education system
Yeah.
globally is not geared at all for what the workplace requires. There's lists of companies globally who do not require you to have a first degree.
Degrees anymore. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
actually do your personality test, your aptitude test, your attitude test. They test you for who you are.
Yeah. Correct.
So if you really want to invest in skills, invest in critical thinking, communication, leadership. Understand what leadership is. Leadership is not about a position, a title, all of that fancy stuff that you see. Leadership is about leading yourself. You're the CEO of your life. You
Definitely.
lead you. Now, when you lead you and you are married and you have children, automatically that becomes a mini business, if you want to say, because when you lead yourself, you've got to reflect and build a culture for your family.
Yeah.
When you build that, that radiates out. Others see how and what you do. So you can start there. You don't need to do, sorry, I mean, be educated. I educate myself not through online courses. I educate myself even today, every day. I'm a learner from day one, and I will be till I die. I educate myself by talking with people, reading
Reading.
the
Yeah.
people that I really like what they're doing. I read vociferously. I have different time blocks in the week to read stuff. Even my wife says, you don't read the news and all. I don't take news. I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Those are irrelevant stuff to me. I mean, I'll probably have my Friday night movie nights with family, but not having just watch serials or something. So if you ask me about what's on TV or what's on, I'm at odds. I just don't have that social conversation. I don't have it. And I'll be very frank. I'll say, I'm sorry, I really don't know, because I don't watch TV, period. But if you're interested in learning, come on, man.
Can
Mr.
learn
Google,
anywhere,
Dr. Google, everything is
anything.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of you wanting to seek, right? I mean, those days we had
Right.
to go to the library, and now it's like at your fingertips. It's just, do you want to learn? Do you want to seek? So it depends on what you love and what you want to look for. Doesn't mean because people have this
Exactly.
very narrow mind of what education is. Education means just going and sitting for exams, and most times they don't want to read anymore. We have to force them to read. I mean, how do you learn if you don't read? If you don't, speak to people, how do you learn? You don't
Learn.
expand your mind,
Be a
if you
visual
don't.
learner, be a
Yeah,
sensory learner. You don't have to always be
different
handwriting
ways of
and
learning. Correct.
yeah, that combination that you'll know this better than me, that you have
Yeah,
to write it down so that it gets into the brain.
yeah,
But there are other senses, there's sensory learning. So
yeah. That works.
the thing
Correct.
is, you have to choose by yourself, not be
What works
driven
for
by what
you?
others are saying.
Yeah,
What works for you, you try
yeah,
it. So people who have ADHDs or are neurodiverse and everything, they learn differently. They
definitely.
learn to take information in small bites and bits, so to speak. uh,
Yeah,
Going back to it, can you find your purpose if you sit down one day to just have a chat with yourself? My answer is going to be no.
it's a
Purpose only
long.
comes when
Yeah,
you either have a catalytic event in your life, or
correct.
you suddenly realize that, hey, I'm just not feeling good, and you start asking this question, why is a very powerful question, which is why
Right.
purpose is always summed up as why. If
Yeah,
it's an open-ended question, you just keep asking why. Take any topic with anybody. Look at kids. Kids, my kids teach me so much. I get angry, I get upset, I get frustrated with the noise, cacophony, and everything. But the learning is amazing because I see that why, that curiosity being asked, this plus this plus this plus this plus this. And that's actually helped me in my work, to be
definitely.
curious, to know how, why, what was there? Has somebody done it this way? Can I find out? And when you go down that road, today, I mean, information at a fingertip, as you said, Cheryl, it's at a
Definitely.
fingertip.
Definitely. It's just whether you want to or not. It's really a lot of things are in our hands. We have the control. We are holding the steering wheel. It's just whether we want to or not. We want to sit at the back or we want to hold the steering wheel. Thank you so much, Joy. We are already at the end. I don't know how 1 hour just goes like that with everyone that I brought on my show, right? It's just crazy. I think this is Casey. He says, well said, and we learn from the purpose of our own life, not necessary from others. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
and that's what the
Very
show is
true.
all about, right? It's inspiring freedom from within. And yes, we learn from other people, but we still need that spark within us, because if we don't look within, how are you going to grow? How are you really going to grow? It's just going to be you
Yep.
listening and then that's it.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that line there, Cheryl, because this is my summation for those who are still on the show. Yourself is an inside job. And when I
Yes.
say yourself, imagine it whichever way you want. Your heart, your entire physique, it's totally an inside job. You've got to, motivation is not external. You think money buys happiness. Yes, money buys the comforts that you associate with happiness. But to get it, you've got to be able to have the drive from within. So if you can just remember that bit, that it's an inside job and the potential is within, from my end, go talk to Cheryl. She'll help you find out exactly where inside is it hidden.
Thank you so much, Joy. So
Cheryl,
we're going
thank
to
you so
close
much.
for the night. I have so much of questions to ask you, Joy, but we'll have to take this offline, and
Absolutely.
hopefully we finally get that coffee. So to everyone else, if you have the opportunity, if you're a business, you definitely need to speak to Joy. He's gonna spark things up within your business you never thought possible, right? And he has that key. Don't believe me? Just have a chat with him. That's it. And I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have a hard time not chatting with him after that. Okay. So have a good night. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And we are off. Good night. Joy, we'll go backstage after this for a while.
Sure.
Good night,
Sure.
guys. Bye.
Thank you all. Have a safe night.